but now it's on 24 hours, and they got to fill the hours. They showing images of people starving or people being attacked. I mean, this is the case of what happened with Somalia is the famous case, 92, 93. Kosovo is the other case. Clinton acknowledges that when he was president, that this played a role. So there was always, starting with the 90s, there had been a moment already of this kind of responding to media when you make policy. You know, you have to keep the media, you have to keep it in mind. As many of those theorists have argued, of course, 9/11 changed all that. So not the event itself, but that the Bush White House were much more successful in controlling that process again, not bowing so much to public pressure. I mean, there were tons of marches against the Iraq War. There was a lot of opposition to it, but it didn't sway them, right? So it was a different kind of climate from the 90s. So the one was, I was going to say this, you have to respond. Also, governments are talking to each other via CNN suddenly. They're appearing on CNN, that's how they talk about a particular issue. So I think the groundwork was there already. Where I think the internet changes things is perhaps, and with all the caveats that I made earlier about what happened in Iran, if you're wondering as to the extent of what's going on in Iran, because there's a clampdown, foreign journalists are not allowed to leave the hotel, they cannot go onto the street, they can only report, you know, from what they're seeing on Iranian state TV. And then you have this new media where, yes, it may be, as people have argued, it's not the whole of Iran tweeting, but it's a few strategically placed people who are tweeting, and they're sending out you know, videos of somebody being shot and dying, and the video becomes viral. They tweeting about how people are getting beaten up in an alley. They showing you the extent of how many people are against the government. They, you know, whatever. I mean, there's many cases of this. In Zimbabwe, for example, during the last election, the MDC, this is the opposition, decided to take photographs of polling stations as results once they were posted on the door, and then they posted that online. And while the government said, "Oh, we're still figuring out the result, and we'll only tell you tomorrow what the final result is," what the opposition had done already was put it into our heads that this election is flawed, right? So I think that's what it does. Whether it then forces political leaders, public representatives, or public officials to do something, that's debatable. I mean, in the case of Iran, there was all the pressure on Obama, right, to do something about Iran, and of course the U.S. government did not, jump in and attack Ahmadinejad, or he did make a speech, I think, where he lauded the Iranian people and so on. But I think my answer is sort of like, I don't think we're having that same kind of response to it. What we might have is campaigns that are not led by governments. That's changing. The sort of stuff that Bono is doing, or the people who are campaigning around Darfur to create public education around what's happening in Darfur, in Sudan. And there are debates as to their interpretation of what's happening in Sudan, whether that's really what's happening in Sudan, and whether their suggestions and recommendations is what Sudan needs. That's to be debated. But the truth is, it has, I think, increased people's education, their sense of concern, etc. It has done that, I think, at least, in terms of how we talk about it and how we figure out international affairs. And my last point is, as I said earlier, it also has created almost this thing around specialization. As I said at the start, if you care about whether it's Israeli-Palestinian politics, there is a number of influential bloggers, writers that you are going to follow that are not necessarily stuff that you'll be reading in the Times, in the Post, or in the New York Post. And when I say Post, I mean the Washington Post. So it's, I think that's what it has done. I'm not sure if it's having exactly the same kind of effect that CNN used to have, or that Fox, I think, now has with a segment of the political class, or I don't think so. I think we underestimate the ability of what we call old media to respond to the new conditions. I mean, I don't know much about the inner workings of the Wall Street Journal, but I do read the Wall Street Journal online, and you have to pay to read the Wall Street
Yes.
Journal. And actually, people are paying to read it. That's one thing. The second thing is, I think the Wall Street Journal has adapted well to, you know, anybody who's read it for a long time, right? It's a boring looking, it never used to have any photographs in it. But in print, it's adapted, it has color photographs, it now has an art section, blah, 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 etc. And so on. Online, it's done the same thing. It has blogs, it has videos, like a lot of video journals or video reporting. It has also set up, you know, the TED.org, you know, the technology, entertainment and design, those annual conferences. The Wall Street Journal has set up its own version of that. So I think that what we call old media it's become more like a hybrid. They figured it out. I'm not sure. The other thing is also, I think I saw the other day that Salzberger of the Times said that he can see a point where the Times won't be printed anymore as a printed paper, and where people will just read it online with it, or read it on a Kindle, or read it on an iPad. So the decline of print, I don't think many of them, they don't see this as the end of, there is all the browbeating, oh, it's the end of newspapers. While they're saying that, they've really adapted well to the new conditions. They're doing video journalism. They are, and again, I'm not, you know, journalists are losing their jobs. That's all happening, but I think they've also understood that it's a different environment, that yes, and this links to your second question, there are other outlets out there that are not, that old media initially, they were very suspicious of. If you go back, they still do, if you read regularly sort of debates among journalists, Columbia Journalism Review, American, I forget the name of the journal of American journalism, the American Journalism, I'll get to the name again, or even the Pew Research, you know, the people who bring out these regular surveys on media usage or perceptions among journalists. There's a constant navel-gazing and sort of, oh, you know, and who are these people, and a questioning of the bona fides of the new crop of citizen journalists. But there's increasingly this adapt, you know, not just in Turkey, but also here. There is this, like, you know, we were uncomfortable, or we didn't want to report that, but the bloggers have now done it, so we have to do something about it. And in cases where, in countries, if you want, where it may be politically not, what is it, a hot potato? You know, it's something that we didn't want to touch. We can say the blogs, and that in that way we can talk about. Oh yeah, I think that is definitely the case. I think that there is increasingly a coming to terms by what is called, I want to stop calling them old media, because they've survived. I think it's nonsense that they're going to die. I think they figured out the way this game works. If you go to, whether it's Google, there's lots of stuff happening. With Google, for example, you can pay Google to get your stuff to the top. So, you know, so there's a story that came out last year that the Times in London hired an agency to post its stories whenever they came out on aggregators. So they had somebody going on Dig, I don't know if you know dig.com, it's an aggregator where people put stories. They had somebody set up a Facebook account, they had a bunch of people doing Twitter, telling people that their stories were coming out. So, they figured out this new media. I think that that's something that people are underestimating about the old media. And they have deep pockets still. I mean, Fox, well, Rupert Murdoch's was the big company, the overarching company. They have deep pockets. They can set it out. They can work with the technology and develop, adjust to it to work to their advantage. Yeah.
I actually just received a question from Twitter, through Twitter, but you just asked the same question. So thank you very much for your enlightening speech and all your answers. So we will have some light Turkish foods after this session, but before that, we have a little gift for you for the memory of this day. This is called Turkish miniatures, Turkish art. So please.
Oh, I have to stand and take it?
Yeah, he will just take a photo.
Oh, let me put this down.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I didn't mention, but I have been to Istanbul. It's a great city.
It was 2006 when?
Yeah, I remember going. It was really.
Okay.
Was it Bixli University? I think it's called.
Bigli,
yeah.
Respect. We have another interview. So thank you very much for your enlightening speech and all your answers. So we will have some light Turkish foods after this session, but before that, we have a little gift for you for the memory of this day. This is called Turkish miniatures, Turkish art. So please.
Oh, I have to stand and take it?
Yeah, he will just take a photo.
Oh, let me put this down.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to say thank you to the Turkish Cultural Center, New York, for inviting me. I really enjoyed being here, and I enjoyed the interaction and the debate around old and new media.